I went out of the court. They're all just pushing. They're all kind of like pushing you against the wall. And I was getting closer and closer to the wall. And I was like,
The wall was getting closer. With every push from the surging crowd behind her, 20-year-old Alex Eala felt herself pinned tighter, her shoulder blades pressing into the concrete. Her father and coach were somewhere in the crush. There was zero security between her and hundreds of fans who had waited hours just to see her practice at the 2026 Australian Open. She shouted the only words that could save her.
like, wait, give me some space or I'm gonna like get run over.
Give me some space, or I'm going to get run over. When the WTA's fastest rising draw needs security just to walk off a practice court and no one arranged it for her, the tennis world has a story it cannot ignore. What Eala revealed on a podcast weeks later exposed something far deeper than one frightening moment in Melbourne. Alex Eala arrived at the 2026 Australian Open carrying something heavier than a racket bag. She carried the expectations of an entire nation, a nation whose diaspora stretches from Melbourne to Dubai to New York, filling stadiums with Filipino flags wherever she competes. Her ranking at the time placed her outside the automatic bubble of tour-provided entourages and heightened protocols. She was a player the crowds treated like a superstar, but the system still treated her like everyone else. That disconnect erupted into full view on an outdoor practice court at Melbourne's NTC. The setup was routine, bleachers flanking both sides, a ramp leading up from court level, no barriers, no bodyguards, no one from the tournament station between Eala and the public. She finished her session, packed up, and stepped toward the exit. What met her was not a line, it was a wave. Fans surged forward, signatures, photos.
Watch out, there's a kid.
Oh, yes, yes.
He's small.
Yeah.
A chance to touch the moment. The ones at the front could see her, the ones behind them could not, and they kept pushing. Eala described the scene herself on the Players Box podcast in late March. The flow of people coming because they wanted me to sign, I couldn't move, and there's a wall back here. The people behind couldn't see what was happening up front. They're all just pushing. They're all kind of pushing you against the wall. I was getting closer and closer to it.
They're all just pushing. They're all kind of like pushing you against the wall. And I was getting closer and closer to the wall. And I was like,
Oh, that's kind of dangerous. Her father was there. Her coach was there. Neither could stop physics. The crowd's love had become a literal safety hazard, and no one from the tour had anticipated it for a player ranked outside the top 30. Alex Eala now needs security at practice. And the fact that she had to figure that out herself tells you everything about how fast her rise has outpaced the infrastructure around her. Here is what makes that Melbourne incident more than an isolated scare. It is part of a pattern the tennis world can no longer pretend is accidental. Eala herself identified the shift on that same podcast episode. That's another thing I had to get used to, my practices, she said. That's how I knew things had changed, when people started waiting for my practices. At the beginning of the year, it was a little overwhelming for me in terms of that exposure. Not her matches, her practices. Fans lining up before she even started warming up in city after city, tournament after tournament. Melbourne, Dubai, New York. The demand was not local, it was global, and it followed her like a tide. Put yourself in the shoes of any other player at her ranking. You walk onto a practice court, and maybe a handful of people glance up from their phones. You finish, you towel off, and you leave. Nobody is waiting, nobody is pushing, nobody needs to be told to step back. That is the normal experience for a player ranked in the 40s. Alex Eala's experience is the complete opposite, and the gap between those two realities is the entire point. No other player at her ranking level is forcing this conversation about practice court security. The geographic reach confirms this is not a fluke. Eala ticked off the locations herself. I think New York is a big one. New York was huge, Melbourne at home, and Dubai. The Middle East in general has a massive population of Filipinos. Not a lot of people realize that. Every stop on the calendar that intersects with a significant Filipino community becomes an event within the event. The draw is not just tennis skill, it is cultural identity walking onto a court with a racket. Jessica Pegula, the world number 5, witnessed it firsthand in Dubai. On the podcast, Pegula recounted Des and I were both in Dubai. You could hear your match from the hotel. My coach was like, I heard this noise outside. It was for Alex's match. It was wild, not from inside the stadium, from the hotel. A top 5 players coach heard crowd noise from a building away and had to ask what was happening. The answer was Alex Eala. The answer is always Alex Eala. And through all of this, the wall incident, the overwhelming crowds, the noise that rattles hotel windows, Eala's instinct has been to move closer to fans, not farther away. During the 2026 Miami Open, viral videos captured her overriding security to let fans approach for photos and autographs. She did not retreat behind a barrier. She walked past it. That is not a player managing her brand. That is a player who understands that every person holding a Filipino flag in a foreign stadium traveled a long way to feel seen. If you've been following her story from the beginning, if you recognized what she meant to this sport before the rankings caught up, that Miami moment confirmed what you already knew. The connection between Eala and her fans is not manufactured. It is the most genuine thing in women's tennis right now. Desiree Crouchick has competed on the WTA Tour for years. She has played Grand Slams, won doubles titles, and seen every level of fandom the sport produces. She co-hosts the Players Box podcast alongside Jessica Pegula, Madison Keys, and Jennifer Brady, for women who collectively represent decades of elite-level experience. When Eala told the story of the Melbourne Wall incident on air, it was Crouchick who cut through the hesitation. "You can ask for security," Crouchick said, surprised that Eala had not already done it. "Yes, ask for security." Eala listened. She requested security for her next practice session on a main court, and the difference was immediate. Crouchick's reaction said it all. "Oh my gosh, the security helps so much. Like, yeah, you're crazy big here." That last line, "you're crazy big here," landed differently because of who said it. This was not a fan account on social media. This was not a headline writer reaching for clicks. This was a peer, a fellow professional who has stood in tunnels and locker rooms across the circuit, telling Alex Eala to her face that her level of fame has crossed into territory that demands protection. When players inside the top tier of the sport are the ones validating the phenomenon, the conversation shifts from opinion to consensus. What happened in Melbourne is not staying in Melbourne. Eala's clay court swing begins with a Linz Open in early April, followed by the path towards Stuttgart, Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros. 5 tournaments across Europe where Filipino communities are growing and where Eala's profile is rising in real time. Every one of those stops now carries the same question Melbourne answered the hard way. Is the infrastructure ready for the demand she generates? The WTA's expansion into new markets has been a stated priority for years. Eala is delivering that expansion organically, not through corporate partnerships or manufactured campaigns, but through a fan base that shows up, fills seats, and creates noise that reaches hotel rooms. Tournament directors from Indian Wells to Dubai have already seen what happens when she is on the schedule. The crowds swell, the energy shifts, the atmosphere changes. Her ranking sits at number 45 as of late March. The number will fluctuate, and it always does for a 20-year-old navigating her first full seasons at this level. What will not fluctuate is the size of the crowd waiting for her at practice tomorrow. That demand is locked in. It grows with every tournament, every viral clip, every flag waved in a foreign grandstand by someone who flew 12 hours to be there. Eala's 2026 Australian Open ended in the first round, a loss to Alicia Parks, 6-0, 3-6, 2-6. She walked off the court in Melbourne having lost her opening match at a Grand Slam, and then she walked into a crowd that did not care about the scoreline. The fans were still there. The flags were still there. The love did not require a win. On the podcast, she admitted the emotional weight of that moment. Losing on court while being embraced off it left her processing something she had never faced before. "That was also part of me not accepting it," she said. "Why do I need security? I'm going to practice. I don't want to feel like my head is here." She gestured upward, miming an inflated ego, but when it comes to safety, the sentence trailed off. She did not need to finish it. The wall in Melbourne finished it for her. She responded the way she always responds. She went to Indian Wells and beat Coco Gauff. She went to Miami and won 2 matches before falling in the round of 16. The setback did not define the swing. The crowd at practice the next morning did. A wall at the NTC in Melbourne. A voice shouting for space. A world number 5 hearing crowd noise from a hotel room and asking what's happening. A fellow player telling a 20-year-old, "You're crazy big here." A young woman overriding her own security in Miami because the people holding flags deserve to be met halfway. Alex Eala does not just play tennis in front of fans. She carries an entire nation's pride onto courts that were never built to hold that much emotion. And now the sport has to build bigger barriers, hire more guards, and rethink what it means when a player ranked 45 draws attention that rivals the top 5. The WTA is not in shock because of her ranking. The tennis world is recalibrating because her cultural gravity has outgrown every system designed to contain it. So, here's the question worth debating. Is Alex Eala redefining what it means to be a WTA superstar, where fan devotion and cultural identity carry as much weight as the number beside your name? Drop your answer in the comments because this conversation belongs to the people who saw it coming. If you have been here watching this story build from the early rounds to the practice courts to the podcast confessions, you're part of something the rest of the tennis world is only now waking up to. This channel is where that story lives. Subscribe because the clay court season is about to test everything. And this community will be the first to know what happens next.